Yo, I'm back, guys, with another patch, patch update, because you guys probably saw the last video that I've uploaded on YouTube was about the Clown Council returning with the patch. Well, now they're back with an updated version of the last Clown Council patch, so I'm here to bring you that. This is like, I think, 2 days news. I'm bringing it to you now, now that I've had more time to think about the changes and you know, talk about them. And I know people want me. I've talked about it on stream, obviously, like what I think about the patch and stuff, but I want to get you guys a video with my thoughts on all the changes. So, as we see here, they've updated the update, essentially, and they're still doing the overcharge, removal thing, I believe. But basically, so let's go to the, and again, I'm aiming for this video to be about 11 minutes. I don't want it to be like half an hour long or whatever. We'll probably hit 20 minutes. We always do, guys. But yeah, first change, Cyclone. Revert to the old Cyclone. So for those of you that are forgetful or unaware, the old Cyclone, the Cyclone we had before the current one was not reactorable. It came out of a tech lab, and it had it had a pretty decent lock-on range. Like, you could lock on like a stalker a bit away from a stalker or a tank. And then when you kited the Cyclone away, it had it had really extremely long lock-on range once it was locked on. That was the old Cyclone. And so now they're going to revert this. I have mentioned this in passing many times. There's other streamers that have mentioned how bad it was when they changed the Cyclone. I think, I mean, it's not necessarily a good or bad change. It's more of a stylistic, because this thing was basically like, it changed the entire design of the unit. I personally, I never liked that they changed the Cyclone to what it is now, because they keep, you know, Blizzard originally had the Cyclone one way, then they made another way, then the balanced Clown Council made it the way it is currently, and now they're changing it back to the way it was before. The Cyclone has been back and forth between the reactorable one that like was just weird, and yeah, I hope they do. I mean, I'm fine with this. They're doing a full revert. So yeah, it'll bring back Cyclone Hellion Banshee Mech, which is good. That's really, really good. It brings back that, for those of you that are unaware, you could actually play, you could play Banshee you could play Banshee. I have a YouTube video. Check my YouTube, guys. I have a Banshee Cyclone Hellion, like, mobile mech style video. But yeah, that was a style you could play before, so now we'll be able to do that again. Great. So, okay. They're reducing Stalker build time by 3 seconds out of gateways, not warp gates. This is something I talked about on stream, and their comments are they want to make it easier to stop 2 barracks proxy marauder. I mean, I think this is really unnecessary. I don't know why Protoss and Zerg get babied when it comes to defending cheese, but then they leave in, like, this is just going to make proxy gateways stronger. The Stalker will hit Terran or Zerg quick. Like, a Stalker will come out and be able to kill the Overlord, potentially, a little bit quicker against Zerg. Against Terran, Stalkers will show up at your ramp faster whenever, you know, a Protoss does proxy gateway. So, I mean, 2-Rex Marauder proxy was already holdable, and it was already very all-in, so I don't know why seems like they're babying Protoss players. Unnecessary. Now we get to the biggest one. And I find it funny, guys. You guys that have been watching my stream lately, you guys know I've been streaming Starcraft2 again. And you know I've been playing Zerg, doing Zerg to GM. It seems like these guys, they watch my stream, and they probably saw me playing Zerg and mentioning how ghosts are busted, so then I guess they greenlight finally a ghost. Like, you notice they don't greenlight a ghost nerf till, like, oh, Avilo, the Terran player, even a Terran player is complaining about ghosts being broken, so like, I guess they feel like they won't get any backlash now, so it's okay to finally nerf the ghost. But I mean, this is a huge discussion because, guys, ghosts it's a very tricky thing. Terran only has Ghost late game against Zerg. That's all you have. So, of course, Terrans are going to mass Ghost. That's the only thing you can do late game against a guy that goes Broodlord, Infestor, Vipers, and has mass Lurkers underneath, like, and Ultras that are unkillable now. What else are you going to, like, so, there used to be Ravens. Now you go Ghosts. So, this is okay, but you have to give Terran something else, and they never give Terran any. They just nerf Terran over and over again. Like, on the one hand, I do agree that Ghosts are absurdly broken against Zerg. You shouldn't be able to mass 20 or 30 Ghosts only, which is what ends up happening. For those of you that are if you're a Terran or Zerg laddering, and you're not aware of this, then you're delusional. Because right now, I can say from both sides of the matchup, it is utterly broken to sit there and make 20 to 25 to 30 Ghosts, and you never move. You never have to actually do anything. You never move out of the map. People aren't even, to be funny, or to be fair, people aren't even abusing Mass Ghost to the extent they could be if they added in like triple nuke silo and started nuking along with the mass. Like, add in a couple nukes here and there, it's even more insane, and people aren't even doing that right now. They're not even adding in the nukes on top of it. They're just massing the Ghosts. But I do have to say, it's a bit worrying and concerning that they're gonna do this nerf, but then not nerf Zerg as well. Because I feel like now, after this nerf, I feel like Zerg will be unbeatable. Zerg was already really strong. Yeah, I don't know if Zerg will really be beatable anymore in the late game. Like, I think a lot of Terran play... Like, again, this is fine to nerf this, but you gotta do... It has to be hand in hand with, like, meaningful nerfs to the other side, and there just never are any. And I don't trust this Clown Council to ever... Most of them seem to play Zerg. I don't trust them to ever really do anything to Zerg. So, I mean, yeah, it's a warranted nerf. Okay. At least it's something, I suppose. Mothership no longer abductable. Okay. That's a Protoss buff. Late game buff. It might be worrying that Protoss could be, like, really insanely strong, if not broken, on this next patch. Like, Protoss might be broken next patch. Protoss is already broken on the ladder. Like, I know people complain Protoss doesn't win tournaments or whatever. Protoss is already broken on the ladder. It's already very strong and a mass carrier, and Protoss is just oppressive in general. And I don't even think Protoss is underpowered. I think that Protoss just don't happen to win at the highest level. And that doesn't mean Protoss needs buffs. So, I mean, I don't know. They're going to do this. I hope they really don't buff Protoss any. Honestly, it's already... Protoss is already very, very strong, and it'll only get stronger, and it'll only make the ladder worse, because I feel like, yeah... I mean, it's a buff. I think this is going to make late game unwinnable for Zerg, in my opinion. And I do happen to play all three races. And, by the way, I have officially hit Grandmasters with Protoss multiple times. So I think I can speak on this. When you get to the late game Death Ball as Protoss, I think it's going to be very difficult for Zerg now once you have High Templar and Archons and Mass Cannons underneath your carrier Tempest Ball. Ultralisk buff, they're giving a minor move speed decrease on the upgrade. This is placebo. They say that it'll be the same move speed as Stim Marine Marauder. This is placebo. Like, they're just trying to do something to pretend like they're nerfing Zerg because they're nerfing Ghost, but this doesn't really matter that much. They're removing the Broodlord buff. Tempest damage point change removed. Liberator change is removed. Fine. They shouldn't touch those. Now, okay, here's where we get to the nonsense Clown Council part. Now, they're going to keep... Look at what they do. They keep the Hydra buff in, so they pretend like, okay, nerf Ghost, revert Cyclones, minor nerf to Ultras, but then they do these... And then the funny thing is, they don't go through with an insane Broodlord buff for no... Like, that buff was there for no reason, but now they're not going to... super buff it, which it should have never been proposed for a buff in the first place, honestly. But now they're going to add a Hydra upgrade. Why? This is unnecessary, should not be in the patch. Don't stop buffing Zerg. This is why we call them the Clown Council. They just buff Zerg 50 times. Lurker, this is a placebo nerf. It's not going to really matter that much. I know that people are going to be like, but Avilo, it is combat shields, you know, it's 10 HP. Like, most of the time when you play with lurkers, if you have 10 lurkers burrowed, the units that are, like, you obliterate the units before they even get in range of the lurkers. This will be a hit to, like, it is combat shields, essentially, on lurkers, and we know that plus 10 HP on a Marine is a huge deal, so 10 HP nerf it might be a big deal in the late game. It might be. It might make lurkers more brittle. Maybe suddenly you maybe people run over positions where lurkers are there. Me personally, I love using lurkers. I love playing Turtle Zerg mech. Zerg mech. I love Zerg mech. The Zerg version of mech with Turtle, Hydra, Lurker, Viper. But, it's... sure, they're doing this, I guess, because they're nerfing the Ghost, so they have... I just think it's funny that I mentioned on my stream that Lurkers probably need a nerf, and then suddenly they're proposing these Lurker nerfs. Like, what a coincidence. Missile turret salvage removed, okay. But, now guys, they remove the blue flame buff. Terran can never get anything good, ever, in any of these patches. Never. And then they are reverting the Spinecrawler buff. But guess what, guys? They're keeping Sporecrawler buff. So basically, it's another Zerg patch. Like, there's some things that are good. The Ghost nerf is arguably good. That has been upsetting TVZ for a while. Let's just go to the final changelog here. Blue Flame removed. And honestly, by the way, I actually agree that Blue Flame probably, like, two-shotting workers would be really broken. And I say that as a Terran player. I've always said that before. When Hellbats were broken, I called them out as broken ages ago. I don't know if people remember, when Hellbat drops, the game was, like, only Hellbat drops for, like, a patch or two. And then, I called that out back then. So yeah, obviously Blue Flame, it would have become degenerate gameplay where you just sacrifice Hellions in the mineral line over and over again. It would have been really bad. People would have hated it more than Widow Mines, probably. So they removed it. It's just, the thing that sucks about it is Terran we can never get buffs, like actual buffs. Never. So let's go over the full changelog. Battery overcharge removed. They get the energy recharge, shield battery, okay. The Stalker thing, I don't agree with. I think it's unnecessary. You don't need to make Protoss better against 2 Rax Marauder, which barely anybody does. It's a very ladder build or like a best out of 5 build. If you don't scout, you deserve to lose. Like, that just, if I don't know why they're trying to make it so a Protoss player doesn't need to scout anymore. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Colossus, this is irrelevant. Not really too impactful in the game. It makes armor upgrades better than shields. Okay. Now, they snuck this one in. Tempest, they're keeping the supply reduction. This is horrible. Tempest Colossus, a style that I used to hit Grandmasters at Protoss, is going to be super buffed. So if you go Tempest Colossus, like, this is an untalked about change, the supply nerf. It's actually a big deal, guys. Tempest will become better. You'll have slightly more of them. And having even, like, 3, 4, or 5 extra Tempests in your army is a big deal. Especially against stuff like Vikings or Corruptors or whatever. Immortal, cost reduced. That makes Immortal all-ins a lot stronger. So that's actually, like, a huge buff. And I think there's, even though they're increasing the weapon rate of fire, I think that's a pretty big buff. Disruptor, radius increase, that's kind of annoying. I don't know why they shouldn't be doing that. Disruptors are a pretty ridiculous unit. Mothership, it's back to 400, but you can't abduct it. That's the main thing, and it hits 4 targets at once, so it'll be really strong late game. Might be too strong, we'll see. Cyclone revert, I'm okay with that. Salvage, I don't really like. Who cares? Like, planetary nerf. They kept the nerf in. That's really bad. That's not fair. You can't do the ghost nerfs and then start like. They sneak in all these Terran Nerfs, guys. And that's the thing that I hate, being a Terran main race player myself. I hate that these guys will pretend like they're doing this, this, and this. And then finally they're like, yeah, we're going to nerf Ghosts. But then they keep in all of the other Terran Nerfs. I think it's ridiculous. They're nerfing the Sensor Tower a second patch in a row. Horrible. Horrible. This is horrible. Now, this is just stupid. Terran Nerf for no reason. 2 Terran Nerfs, huge, to the entire race for no reason. Yet there's no creep tumor nerfs. Creep spread will spread across the entire map. Creep spread all across the map. You can see everything, but Terran's not allowed to have their own mechanic that essentially does the same thing. That's absolutely biased and not a balanced patch. That's a biased patch. Not a balanced patch. That's a biased patch. I don't know why they're these systems. You can call them systems because it's a core mechanic to Terran. They've been in the game for a long time, and then doing this is it's a really Marines are gonna be better. Zerglings are better. Zealots are better against planetaries. It's really, really bad. It makes the game more counterattacky. Really bad. This is a placebo. The supply depot thing is a placebo change. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. We don't even need to talk. This is a placebo buff to justify nerfing Terran as a race for no reason. Placebo doesn't matter. Ghost nerf. Oh, this one we have to talk about. They're also nerfing the Thor, the Javelin missile. I don't like for no reason as well. And then we gotta sneak through all these Zerg buffs, guys. So I've talked about this before. So they increased Queen by 25, but hatcheries are 275. That's absurd. How come we're doing that? Why are we changing core systems to the game like planetary sensor towers? These have been in the game since 2009. You can't just change them like this. And then at the same time, and same thing, the cost of command centers, Nexus, and hatchery, those are core things to the game. And these guys are messing with something core. Like, this is just a super, super buff to Zerg. There's no way you can say it's not a buff. It's just an insane buff. And I've tested it. And you actually mine 25 to 30 more extra minerals by having the hatchery out earlier because your drone gets an extra trip. You actually have an extra 25 to 30 extra minerals early game, which offsets the Queen nerf, making it not even a nerf in the early game. So, and of course, as you guys know, early game in a StarCraft game can determine the rest of the game. It determines the whole flow of the game and what happens. It's a snowball, like the game will snowball, like, you know, you lose a queen from a Banshee kills 10 more workers, stuff like that can happen in a game. So, and now you can't even block the hatchery. As a Protoss or a Terran, hatcheries can't be blocked as easily. So, obviously, Zerg players are the ones balancing the game. Like, look at this, they're sneaking through a Spore Crawler buff. Huge buff. They nerf the health, but they buff it at the same. Huge buff snuck through. Makes Zerg late game turtling even stronger, which, by the way, the design goal supposedly of this patch was to make turtling weaker for some reason. Yet they buff Zerg turtling. Okay, that's again contradictory and hypocritical and just ridiculous. Why are they buffing Zerg more? They're buffing Zerg more with this thing. They're giving Hydralisk stim pack for no reason. Doesn't need to be in the game. Ultralisk, a random buff so that it pushes units, doesn't need, like... So, there you go, guys. There you have it. That's the changes. Overall, I think it's still a terrible patch. I think, it doesn't do any... It doesn't... Like, I think, honestly, let me get real... Let's real talk with you here for a moment, guys. Let me just real talk with you for a moment. Protoss does not need buffs. I said it. There, I said it. They want to buff Protoss. It doesn't need buffs. What needs changes are the map pool. I've said this so many times on stream, and I'll say it for this YouTube video. The reason why Protoss is struggling is because it's difficult to take your natural, your third, your fourth, in a logical pattern, in a StarCraft manner. Historically, StarCraft 1 and 2 have always operated on, you have a natural base, you have a third base, and you have a fourth base, and then, like, you can take your second and third base, and then play out the game, build your army up, and then fight the opponent's army. That was how StarCraft always operated for the first many years that it's out. Only since Legacy of the Void, but only also since the last 2 or 3 years, have maps been made where you can't take a third comfortably. Why? Like, also, we talked about this on my stream. I had a Discord call-in, a little chat with my stream, and this was brought up in discussion. But the fact that minerals have been removed per base in Legacy of the Void also hurt Protoss a lot. That's why Protoss in general, it's because of the expansion pattern on all these maps. It's very... I hate all of the StarCraft 2 maps for like the last 3 years. They're all very counterattacky, and you'll notice the worst thing with all the StarCraft 2 maps in the last years is you can't take your third easily. Why? Why have we made the game into this thing where it's so aggro, counterattacky, and not really real StarCraft, I would say. So if the map pool was, if the map makers and the maps that are put into the map pool, even if they brought back some older maps maybe that were macro maps, I'm not saying bring back Cloud Kingdom or Lost Temple necessarily, although that would be interesting, a retro map pool. I think that might be really nice, like, to do that. That would be cool. Bring some retro maps back. But bring back some of the old macro maps where you take your first, second, and third base and get to play the game again. You'll find out, everybody in the community will find out that Protoss is actually stronger than perceived, because Protoss does really good when you can take a third base and then max out. Protoss does really, really good in classical StarCraft expansion patterns. Protoss does very bad on all the maps of all the recent years, where you take your natural and then suddenly your third is like in the middle of nowhere, and like there's a huge cliff like that you have to walk around to even get to your third. So yeah, I think a lot of the bounce problems are because the map pools have been like completely bastardized in recent years to be this weird stuff. And I think if the maps were made a little bit more traditional StarCraft maps, I think the balance of the game overall would be a lot better. Anyways, guys, there you go. There's my patch update for this patch. This is patch 5.0.14. And yeah, I mean, guys, I'll probably... I've been streaming more StarCraft 2. I've been doing the Zerg to GM challenge, so tune into my stream if you want to see me play StarCraft 2. I have been playing it again. And I'll most likely be playing SA2 until Supervive is like open beta or released, and then I'll switch to that game because I think that game is fucking awesome. But for now, I am kind of playing a lot more StarCraft 2 again, and I think a lot of other people have taken notice. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. I think a lot of other StarCraft 2 streamers have taken notice that, like, oh, Avilo's playing again, I might as well play too. I think it's this interesting thing where one person, like, you know, people realize, like, oh, Avilo's playing again. Like, everybody, let's go back. Like, it happens. That happens where, like, a couple content creators come. I'm not saying it's only because of me, okay? I'm not going to let my ego get out of control here. But I am saying that, like, of course it does. It does matter, guys. When you have content creators, again, I've said this, in the ecosystem, whether you like it or not, whether you like somebody else or not, another content creator, whether you love them, hate them, whatever, you like their stuff, you don't, if a lot of content creators are streaming a game, it encourages other people to stream and make content for the game too. So it's only a good thing. Like I said, I don't know how long I'm gonna like stick to streaming it because the NA ladder is a shit show of just hackers and snipers all day long. But for now, I'm probably back streaming the game. So I will say I'm officially back for a while, guys, streaming StarCraft 2 until Supervive is open beta or whatever. And then I'll rank on that game. And I'm also doing, you know, I have been playing League again here and there. But yeah, anyways, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think in the comments of the StarCraft 2 patch. It's still the Clown Council. It's still very much a clown show with the StarCraft 2 balance patches. But hey, at least the old Cyclone will be back, and yeah, we'll make it happen very soon, guys. I am planning to also do another Bronze to GM series, so let me know what you think about that in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Peace out, dudes.